All right, let's dive into a topic that's making waves across industries, digital transformation. Everyone's talking about it, but here's the catch.
Uh-oh, what's the catch?
McKinsey's research throws a bit of a curveball our way, and it's a pretty big one. Turns out 70% of these digital transformations, they just don't make it, they fail.
Wow, 70%. That's a pretty significant number.
Yeah.
So what's the main culprit behind these digital downfalls?
Yeah, it's a pretty dismal success rate. And get this, the main culprit, leadership. It's almost like, having a super advanced spaceship but forgetting to train the astronauts.
Okay, I see where you're going with this. A recipe for disaster. You can have the best technology, the most innovative tools, but if the people leading the charge aren't equipped to navigate the complexities of digital transformation, well, you're setting yourself up for a bumpy ride.
Exactly. And that's precisely why we're taking a deep dive into episode 42 of Mikhail Bressoni's podcast, The Forge of Unicorns, in this episode. He really gets into the nitty-gritty of why these transformations go belly up, offering some seriously valuable advice for everyone involved.
So we're talking private equity, venture capitalists, board members, those calling the shots.
Exactly. Everyone in the driver's seat. It's all about figuring out how to turn the tide, how to make these transformations actually work, and achieve real, lasting success.
Because, let's face it, failing 70% of the time, that's not a sustainable business model. So let's unpack this episode and see what Mike, he goes by Mike as well, what insights he has to offer.
Okay, so one of the things Mike dives into right off the bat is this common pitfall, this mistake that boards often make. And it's treating IT like it's just a cost center.
The dreaded cost center, the necessary evil. Instead of seeing the potential, the strategic value IT can bring to an organization.
Right. It's like they're so focused on cutting costs, trimming the fat, that they completely miss the big picture.
Missing the forest for the trees. It's like having this incredible racehorse and thinking about how much it costs to feed it instead of, its potential to win the Kentucky Derby.
Okay, yeah, that's a much better analogy. But you get the point. It's this short-sightedness, this lack of strategic vision that really sets the stage for, well, a digital faceplant.
It's almost as if they're looking at a Formula One car and saying, well, we could save money by swapping out the engine for a lawnmower motor.
Exactly. When boards don't align IT strategy with the overall business goals, it's basically a recipe for disaster. And that's where it gets really interesting for our listeners.
Why is that?
Well, because whether you're an investor on the board or even in the C-suite, you need to grasp this dynamic. You don't want to be the one left holding the bag when a digital transformation goes south.
Nobody wants to be left holding the bag when the music stops. So what's the solution? How do we avoid becoming a statistic in this digital graveyard?
Well, according to Mike, the key lies in aligning purpose, strategy, and behaviors. We need to get everyone rowing in the same direction, so to speak.
Alignment, purpose, strategy, and behavior, these are all elements that, when misaligned, could be fatal to any initiative, let alone a large-scale digital transformation. So how do we start bringing these elements into alignment?
It's all about connecting those IT goals with the overall objectives of the organization.
Making sure everyone is on the same page, working towards that shared vision.
Absolutely. And it's not enough to just, set those goals and then just hope for the best. You need to constantly check in, adapt as you go, make sure you're on the right track.
So it's not a set it and forget it approach. It's an ongoing process, a journey of continuous adjustment and alignment. And this is where strong leadership becomes even more crucial, wouldn't you say?
Definitely. That's actually what Mike emphasizes next. We need leaders from the top down who can steer the ship through these choppy digital waters.
Leaders who are comfortable with ambiguity, who can embrace change and navigate the complexities of this digital world. It's not just about having the technical skills.
Exactly. It's about having that modern mindset, that agility, that ability to adapt and lead through uncertainty. So we're not just talking about, upskilling teams. We're talking about upskilling leadership.
Upskilling leadership, giving them the tools they need to not only understand the digital landscape, but also to inspire and guide their teams through the inevitable challenges that come with transformation.
And that brings us to another critical piece of the puzzle: behavior change. And this one has to start at the very top.
The board, the C-suite, they set the tone for the entire organization. If they're not walking the walk, if they're not embracing adaptability and collaboration and a willingness to evolve, well, how can they expect anyone else to?
It's all about leading by example, showing, not just telling. But speaking of what not to do, Mike has some pretty strong words about boards micromanaging operations.
Yes, micromanagement, the creativity killer, the innovation squasher. Why is this such a problem?
Well, Mike's point is that the board's job is to define the why, the big picture, and the what, the desired outcomes. But the how, the actual nitty-gritty of execution, that should be left to the teams who are actually doing the work.
The people on the ground, the ones in the trenches, they're the ones who know the terrain best. They're the ones who can figure out the most effective way to achieve those outcomes.
Exactly. It's about empowering teams to innovate, to be agile, to find the best solutions. And another big no-no, over-reliance on consultants.
Let's just bring in a consultant to fix its mentality. Why does Mike caution against this approach?
Well, because true transformation, it's not about outsourcing the hard work. It's about owning the process. It's about digging deep, understanding your unique challenges, and finding partners who are truly invested in your evolution, not someone coming in with a cookie-cutter solution.
Partners who are willing to walk alongside you, guide you, but ultimately empower you to drive your own transformation.
Exactly. And to really bring all this to life, Mike shares a really interesting case study in his podcast. It's about this company that went from being stuck in the digital dark ages to absolutely crushing it.
Okay, so a real-world example of a successful digital transformation. I'm intrigued. What was the secret sauce? How did they manage to pull it off?
Well, they did something pretty amazing, and it's something that, frankly, a lot of organizations overlook. They focused not only on setting clear goals, but also on defining the specific behaviors needed to achieve those goals.
So it wasn't just about what they wanted to achieve, but how they needed to act, how they needed to behave as a team, as an organization to get there. I like that.
Yeah, and to do this, they implemented a really powerful combination. Objectives and key results. Those are OKRs, and they paired that with key behavioral indicators, or KBIs.
I see. So OKRs help everyone stay focused on the big picture goals and how their work contributes to them, while KBIs zoom in on the specific actions and behaviors that will drive them towards those goals. A two-pronged approach.
Precisely. And this 1-2 punch led to some pretty incredible improvements. I mean, we're talking jaw-dropping results.
What kind of results are we talking about? Did they move the needle?
Oh, they absolutely moved the needle. Their customer satisfaction shot up to a perfect 5 stars. Their employee engagement soared, and burnout rates, they plummeted by a whopping 65%. And on top of that, they saw a 40% boost in delivery speed and managed to cut costs by 30%.
Wow. Those are impressive results. It sounds like they really cracked the code, figured out how to create a win-win situation for everyone involved. Customers, employees, and the bottom line.
They really did. And this case study, it highlights something that Mike keeps emphasizing. IT, it's not just some back office function. It's the beating heart of modern business. And when boards truly grasp that, well, they don't just survive. They thrive in this digital world we're all navigating.
And that leads us back to Mike's main message. Digital transformations might fail at the top, but they can also succeed there.
It all depends on whether boards are willing to roll up their sleeves, ditch the buzzwords, and actually take action.
It's about putting in the work, embracing change, and leading by example.
Exactly. It's about walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
It really does come down to that, doesn't it? Putting those words into action. Not just, throwing around these trendy phrases, but actually changing the way things work, the way you think, the way you operate.
Exactly. Putting your money where your mouth is. And we've been talking about this big picture, the alignment, the leadership, changing how people behave. But I want to get into the details, the nuts and bolts. What do these shifts actually look like in the real world? I mean, how did that company, in Mike's case study, how did they turn things around? What did they actually do?
So one of the biggest changes they made was they stopped trying to control every single little detail. They started trusting their teams, empowering them to make decisions. Instead of getting stuck in the how, they focused on the what and the why.
So instead of killing creativity with micromanagement, they created an environment where their teams could, experiment and come up with innovative solutions.
Exactly. They gave their people the freedom to, figure things out. And that trust, it really paid off. It's a huge lesson for any leader, honestly. Sometimes you got to let go of the reins a little bit to see those amazing results.
Letting go can be tough, though. I think a lot of leaders struggle with that. But even if you give people autonomy, it's not enough, is it? You have to give them the right support, too, right?
Oh, absolutely. This company in the case study, they went all in on leadership development, coaching, mentoring, all that. They wanted to make sure their leaders had the skills and knowledge to, actually support their teams.
So it's like this two-pronged approach. Empower your people, A&D. Give your leaders the tools they need to lead effectively, especially in this, rapidly changing digital landscape.
Precisely. But it goes even deeper than that. The board, they made a real effort to embody the change they wanted to see. They were open to new ideas, embraced collaboration, celebrated even the small wins.
They led by example, basically. They showed everyone what it meant to be adaptable and innovative. It wasn't just empty words.
Exactly. And that's what makes this case study so powerful. They really understood that real transformation, it starts with individuals. They built this culture where everyone felt like they could contribute, where they could, do their best work.
It's amazing what a shift in mindset can do, how it can create these ripple effects throughout an entire organization.
It all goes back to that, core message. Digital transformation, it lives or dies by leadership.
Yeah, it's not just about the tech. It's about the people using it, leading the charge. It's about having leaders who can, embrace the change, challenge the way things are done, and build that culture of innovation. That's where the real magic happens.
And when you have that kind of leadership, the possibilities are pretty much endless.
Hearing you talk about this case study, it makes me think about what Mike said about relying too heavily on consultants. It's so tempting, isn't it, to just throw money at a problem and hope someone else can fix it for you.
Right. Just outsource the hard work. But real transformation, it's not about passing the buck. It's about taking ownership.
Owning it. It's about really digging in, understanding your specific challenges, and then finding the right partners to help you navigate, the best path forward.
Yeah. And I think that's where Mike's expertise really shines. He's not just a consultant. He's more like a guide. He helps organizations figure out their potential, how to build a culture of innovation that, actually sticks.
So if you're listening to this and you're feeling stuck in your own digital transformation journey, maybe it's time to, check out what Mike and his team have to offer. They might just have the insights you need to get things moving in the right direction.
You don't have to go it alone. There are people who've been there, done that, learned from their mistakes. They're ready to share what they know.
It's all about finding that community, the right support system to help you, reach those big, audacious goals.
So we've spent a lot of time talking about leadership, but what about everyone else? What about the folks who aren't in the C-suite or on the board? What can they do to contribute to a successful transformation?
That's a great question, and a great question for our listeners. So regardless of your job title, we want to hear from you. What can individuals do to, help build a culture of innovation and change? We'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, it's easy to think that, all the big changes, they come from the top. But honestly, I think sometimes the most powerful transformations start with individuals, changing how they think, their mindsets.
Right. It's about that mindset of always wanting to learn, always wanting to improve, no matter, what your job is, where you are in an organization.
Yeah, everyone from the people on the front lines to those in charge, they all need to be, engaged, willing to adapt and try new things.
And remember what Mike said about IT professionals. They're often so passionate about problem solving. That energy, it's contagious, but you need the right environment to let it spread.
Like a spark. Needs the right conditions to, really catch fire.
And that's where leadership is so important, creating that space, that supportive and empowering environment so everyone can, really shine. For sure. And one way to do that is setting clear goals, having expectations everyone understands. That's where those OKRs and KPIs come in, right?
Exactly. When you have those measurable objectives and those behavioral indicators, it gives everyone a clear path. They all understand what success looks like.
Like a roadmap for your transformation. Helps you track your progress, figure out what needs to improve, and you can, celebrate the wins along the way.
And it builds this culture of transparency and accountability. Everyone's working together towards the same goal.
And that brings us back to, what Mike's been saying all along. Digital transformation is not just about the technology itself. It's about the people behind it.
Yeah, about empowering individuals, working together and, always learning and growing.
And honestly, this is something that can benefit any organization, no matter how big or small or what industry they're in.
So if you're thinking about starting your own digital transformation, or maybe you're already on that path and you're looking for ways to do even better, remember Mike's advice.
Yeah, align your purpose, get that strategy super clear, and champion those behavior changes from the top down.
And don't forget, check out Mike's white paper and the unicorns ecosystem. There's so much good information there.
Yeah, it's a goldmine, really.
Yeah.
Can help you, navigate this whole digital transformation world and set yourself up for success.
Well, looks like we've reached the end of our deep dive into digital transformation.
I hope you've enjoyed it, learned some things that you can take back to your own organization.
Remember, transformation, it's a journey. It never really ends.
So stay curious, stay adaptable, and, never stop learning.
Until next time.
Thanks for listening, and please remember to subscribe to the Forge of Unicorns to stay up to date with our latest episodes.